Good evening everyone, I hope you're all well. Hallo, goeienaand Prof Aubrey. Kan iemand vir my net 'n thumbs up gee as julle my kan hoor? Goeienaand Pierre. Tiago, good evening. Can you guys hear me? Just give me a thumbs up if you guys can hear me. I'm just testing the sound quickly. Hello Colin. Hello Reinhard. Thank you Rashida, thank you very much. I'm just going to, if you guys will permit me, I'm just going to wait a minute or two and wait for more people to join, and then we can start this evening's discussion. Hi Level, how are you? Hello Daniel. Thank you very much for the confirmation, appreciate it. Hi Yanola. Hallo Hein. Ja, ek het lanklaas het ek een van hierdie gedoen, so ek hoop nie ek is rusty vanaand nie, ons sal maar sien. Hallo Patricia. Goeienaand Avril. Hallo Annemarie. Hallo Elsabie. Hallo Paul. Ek groet maar 'n paar mense terwyl ek nog so rukkie wag. Goeienaand Magda. Hallo Rina. Hallo Pieter. Hallo Larry. Hi Chris. Good evening everyone. Yeah, we've got 100 people on this live at the moment, so I think that's the sign for me to begin this discussion tonight. I hope that you will find tonight's discussion informative. I hope that you will find it interesting. Ek hoop dat julle vanaand se gesprek interessant sal vind. Ons gaan aan baie konsepte vanaand raak wat ek dink baie belangrik is. Dit is dalk, ek gaan dalk goed met julle deel wat julle reeds weet, of ek gaan dalk goed vanaand vir julle vertel wat julle nie weet nie, maar dit is belangrik dat julle dit weet. So I'm going to do this in English and Afrikaans. I've never done an Afrikaans live before, en ek is Afrikaans. So ek het bietjie van die groot Afrikaanse woorde verleer, so julle moet my maar verskoon. I've also drawn up some notes because I did some research on this subject matter before, obviously in preparation for tonight's live. So I hope that you will excuse me if I every now and again glance at my notes, because there's some important stats that I also want to share with you guys. And then obviously I made a summary of the regulations that were published in the Government Gazette pertaining to the those proposals that affect the private security industry with relation to firearms, etc. So I will be reading from my notes when I discuss that with you at a later stage. But for now, I want to just quickly mention that there's a lot of comment currently circulating on social media and on mainstream media with regards to this, with the topic of tonight's discussion. And that's obviously, that being the regulations that were proposed, these proposed changes that they want to make to the CIRA Act that affect the private security industry of South Africa. So there's a lot of experts that have already shared their opinions on this particular issue. Some of them that have way more knowledge on the subject than me or any of us. So one of the people that come to mind is a legal expert, a man by the name of Mr. Martin Hood. Martin Hood is an expert in firearm laws and legislation in South Africa, and I think he was one of the first people that published an opinion on these proposed regulations. So there's nothing that I can really add to what hasn't already been said. There were comments also, I saw some videos today, comments that were made by members of the Gun Owners Association of South Africa. So they pretty much covered everything that I want to discuss tonight. Nevertheless, I'm also going to give you guys a summary at the end of this discussion. And obviously the UIM is opposed to these proposals and these proposed regulations and amendments. But I want to cover there's a few things that I want to cover tonight that I think is very important, so that you understand how the process works, that you understand how the process with regards to the passing of laws, the introduction of bills, Those are all things that I think is very important that we understand those concepts clearly so that you guys can know how to act on these things when they get published in the Government Gazette. So ek gaan vanaand praat oor 'n paar konsepte. Ek dink die eerste ene waarmee ek wil begin, the first thing that I want to start with is the Government Gazette. Die staatskoerant soos hy in Afrikaans bekendstel, of bekend staan. The Government Gazette basically is government's official way of communicating with the public. Dit is die regering se amptelike manier van kommunikeer met die publiek. So enige iets wat die regering beplan. En ons praat nou spesifiek met betrekking tot wetgewing vanaand en wysigings van wette, etc. So I'm referring to, especially pertaining to tonight's subject matter, I'm going to refer to laws and legislation and amendments to existing laws. So anything that government plans or anything that government has in mind with regards to legislation, they publish in the Government Gazette. It serves as a notice to the public. So dit dien as 'n kennisgewing vir die publiek en daai kennisgewings sê die regering basies presies vir ons wat hulle beplan. So needless to say, it's very important to take notice of these, of these publications because they affect our lives. Dit is baie belangrik dat ons notisie neem van hierdie kennisgewings, want dit is die regering wat basies met ons praat en vir ons presies sê wat hulle beplan vir ons in terme van wetgewing en wysigings van wette ensovoort. So the Government Gazette gets published every Friday. It also gets published on weekdays depending on there are certain matters that require urgent attention, or sometimes decisions get made and those gazettes get published randomly throughout the week. But the issue that you need to be aware of, or the publication that you need to be aware of, is the one that gets published every Friday. You can download the Government Gazette. It's on the Government Printing Works website. The address is www.gpw.gov.za. So die staatskoerant word elke Vrydag gepubliseer en jy kan hom gaan aflaai op die webtuiste van die Government Printing Works webtuiste. Dis www.gpw.gov.za. And there's a number of things that get published in the Government Gazette. Presidential proclamations, regulations pertaining to legislation, existing legislation, proposed amendments to legislation, draft bills, all these things get published in the Government Gazette. What happens then is, the reason why they publish these things in the Government Gazette and the reason why we get notified is because we as citizens of this country, believe it or not, are involved in the decision-making processes of this country. That is not optional. It's a constitutional requirement. So there's 'n konstitusionele vereiste dat die publiek betrek word met die besluitnemingsproses as dit kom by wette en wetgewing en die formulasie van nuwe wette en die wysiging van bestaande wette. That's a constitutional process. Government has an obligation to allow for those processes to take place. As you know, South Africa is a democracy. South Africa is a democracy, or so-called democracy. Sometimes I seriously doubt whether we are one or not. But needless to say, that means that we vote. We've got elections in South Africa, and during those elections, we vote for people to represent us in the National Assembly, in the NCOP, the National Council of Provinces. And these people that we elect make decisions on behalf of all of us. So you've got 400 odd people in the National Assembly and 90 people in the National Council of Provinces that make decisions, crucial decisions, that they formulate new laws. And they make all these decisions on our behalf. We are not we're not sitting in the National Assembly or in Parliament when these decisions get made, but there is an opportunity for us to participate in that decision-making process. So it's very important that you understand how this works tonight, so that we can start participating in this process, because laws are being amended right under our noses. New laws are being drafted and enacted, and I don't have to remind you, the Bella Bill went through the exact same process that I'm going to explain to you now. It started off as a bill. That bill was made available for public participation, and eventually that bill became an official law of this country, or an act. It was signed by the president and it became an act of parliament. In other words, it became a law. So it's very important that you guys are aware of what's happening, that you guys are aware of these laws and these proposals that are being made by government, so that we can have our say as well. It's very important because, unfortunately, it seems a majority of these laws are not made in the public interest, or they're not being made in the public interest. So die groot vraag is, as jy nou kyk na die tipe voorstelle wat gemaak word deur die regering, en jy kyk na die tipe wette wat, jy weet, die laaste ruk, jy weet, wat, hoe sê hulle, that are being passed into law, dan is dit nogal, die vraag is nogal, of die regering regtig die mense in ag neem. Word ons regtig in ag geneem? Word hierdie goed regtig in ons beste belang gemaak? Daar's baie mense wat gaan stry en sê nee, en ons is een van hulle, ek is een van hulle. Die UIM is ook 'n party wat nie gelukkig is met 'n paar wette wat nou onlangs amptelik geword het nie. So ek dink julle weet presies waarvan ek praat. So I need to explain the process to you so that you know what to do and so that you know how you can get involved. So what is a bill? What is a draft bill? A draft bill is basically a draft version of the law, or a draft version of a proposed amendment to a law. So 'n wetsontwerp, in Afrikaans is 'n draftbil is 'n wetsontwerp. So 'n wetsontwerp is 'n voorgestelde wet, of 'n ek weet nie wat is die Afrikaanse woord kan ek nou nie opkom nie. It's a proposed a draft version of a law, or a amendment to an existing law. So dit word gepubliseer in die Government Gazette. Hierdie proposals van regering, hierdie regulasies en al hierdie voorstelle wat die regering maak nou om wette te verander en om nuwe wette te omskryf. En dan word ons uitgenooi om deel te neem aan 'n openbare deelname proses. It's called a public participation process. So basically how that works is a draft bill is introduced by a member of the National Assembly, a minister, a department, or a government committee. That bill then gets, or that draft bill gets published in the Government Gazette and die Staatskoerant, and then the public is invited to then comment on it. So die publiek word dan uitgenooi om hulle opinies te lig oor hierdie voorstel, hierdie wetsontwerp, of hierdie wet word wat nou basies voorgestel word, of die verandering op 'n bestaande wet wat nou voorgestel word. And we are given a limited amount of time in which to comment on a particular draft bill. So jy word net 'n spesifieke tydperk gegee waarin jy moet, as jy kommentaar het om te lewer, het jy net 'n spesifieke tydperk waarin jy hierdie kommentaar moet lewer, en dit is normaalweg in geskrewe vorm. So normally you can add your opinion, or you can give your opinion or comment on these draft bills by making written submissions, and then, or drafting written submissions and then sending them. They always give you an address or an email address where you can send your written submissions. What's then supposed to happen is, after obviously the deadline is reached, those opinions, those public opinions and submissions are then discussed and considered by the relevant department or committee. The bill then gets sent to Parliament, where the National Council of Provinces and the National Assembly then further discuss it, finalize it, vote on it, and if the majority votes in favor of a particular bill or proposal, it gets sent to the President for sanctions. In other words, the President signs it, it becomes a law. Baie belangrik om dit te verstaan. So normally the public participation process can also take the form of public hearings that are held in some instances, and then obviously the public is consulted in this regard. Whether or not government actually listens to us, whether or not they actually read our submissions, whether or not they actually discuss our opinions, or whether our opinions even matter, that is a question. That is a question to which I don't have the answer. It wouldn't seem that way if you look at the amount and type of bills that have been passed into law as of late. But you can understand how government would make the argument that, for instance, if you've got 50,000 people that commented on a particular bill, or if 50,000 people sent written submissions to wherever they need to send it. But you're sitting with a population of about 60 odd million people, of which 40 people are, of the age that they can actually participate in this process. Then 100,000 comments or 50,000 comments or opinions out of a possible 40 million doesn't seem like a big amount of people that are, giving their opinions on a specific issue or a specific proposal. So, and hulle stilte is ook 'n antwoord. Silence is also an answer. And it would be easy for people to assume that certain decisions were taken tacitly. And in this regard, I could only imagine if you are asked to give your approval or disapproval of a particular proposal, and you've got 50,000 people, voting against it, then those that don't vote, one can assume is in compliance with it or in agreement with it. I'm just playing devil's advocate here, but I think you get the point. We need to participate in this process. It's very, very important. We need to lift our opinions. We need to send our submissions. It's very, very important. Some of these laws have detrimental effects to our well-being and our futures in South Africa. Despite what government says and despite how they explain it, or there's a reason why some of these bills are drafted in a vague manner, but I will get to that at a later stage. So as long as you understand how the process works, how these bills get passed into law, it's very important that you understand that, and it's very important to understand and know that you can find these proposals, these draft bills, these recommendations, regulations, that you can find them in the Government Gazette that gets published every Friday. So, wees op die uitkyk hiervoor. Daar's baie wat die regering nog beplan vir ons. Jy hoor dit so tussen deur die lyne en you hear it via the grapevine. Maar soos ek sê, dit word gepubliseer. Ons kry kennisgewing daarvan. So dis belangrik dat julle die Staatskoerant lees elke Vrydag en seker maak dat julle op hoogte bly van wat aangaan in Suid-Afrika. En as daar iets is waaraan ons moet deelneem, as daar enige proses is waaraan ons moet deelneem of waar ons deelname waar het nodig is dat ons deelneem, dat ons het doen. Dis baie, baie belangrik. So, I would like to now quickly move on to some stats that I downloaded this morning, and you will understand why I'm reading these stats to you as I go through this discussion with you. So julle sal verstaan hoekom ek hierdie statistieke vir julle wil lees, soos dat ons deur hierdie gesprek aangaan. I want to quickly discuss our current, this was a survey that was done in 2025, so this is fresh. This is fresh information, this is relevant. This survey was done very recently, in which South Africa was rated as the 5th most dangerous country to visit in the world. The 5th most dangerous country globally to visit in the world. So there's countries, so the countries that beat us to that top position, if I can be a little bit sarcastic, were countries like Afghanistan, Haiti, but funny enough, countries like the Ukraine, countries like Israel, Lebanon, Palestine, they didn't even make it into the top 5. But we are sitting on the 5th spot. We are the 5th most dangerous country in the world to visit. Currently in South Africa, well, we received some good news. It seems that crime has gone down. So that's incredible news. So we are only sitting now at 72 murders per day. Now, I don't understand. I cannot see, ek kan geen sin sien hoe dit goeie nuus is nie, as jy in 'n land bly waar daar 72 moorde elke dag plaasvind. So why is South Africa's crime so under control? That's a question that you need to ask yourself. So I think you heard it from Neil on Sunday when he said, I'm a person that likes to apply logic and common sense to a particular issue or a problem or a subject. I think common sense is something that can take you very far if you are lucky enough to have it. So meeste van hierdie goed gaan ons nie oor tegnies raak nie. Ons gaan net so 'n bietjie common sense aanwend, so 'n bietjie logika, en dan sal dit als sin maak. So nou sit ons met 'n land, die 5de gevaarlikste land in die wêreld om te besoek, 'n land waar daar 72 moorde per dag plaasvind. Ons polisie mag SAPD, SAPS. SAPS is severely unequipped in South Africa. That's common knowledge. That is common knowledge. It's a fact. SAPS is underfunded. SAPS is under-equipped. And I want to read a few examples to you, just what I mean. When I say SAPS is under-equipped, it's important that I give you examples. And I've written these examples down and I would like to read them to you quickly. So please excuse me, I'm just going to refer to my notes quickly. So these are just a few key areas where SAPS is under-equipped, and I want you to pay close attention because everything will then make sense to you as we go on. So the first key area that's listed here is vehicle shortages. So I want to read this to you. Up to 21% of police vehicles used for visible policing and 15% of those used by detectives are not in running condition in South Africa. So I don't think I need to elaborate on that. I think you can use some common sense and figure out what that means for South Africans in terms of crime prevention, the combating of crime, etc. If the police don't even have vehicles that are in working condition, how they're supposed to do their jobs. So as die polisievoertuie nie eens werk nie, en jy sit met 21% van die polisievoertuie in die land wat nie operasioneel is nie. Soos ek sê, ek hoef nou nie verder daaroor uit te brei nie, julle kan 2 en 2 bymekaar sit. Equipment and resource shortages. So insufficient communication equipment, there's shortages of handheld and vehicle radios that hinder effective communication and coordination amongst police units. So how can a police unit properly function? Hoe kan die polisie hulle werk doen as hulle nie eens van die nodige tegnologie beskik of radio's het of maniere het om met mekaar te kommunikeer nie? How is that possible for the police to do their jobs if they don't even have communication equipment, or if they are seriously lacking in communication equipment? I mean, once again, 2 and 2 plus 2 is 4. Just use your common sense to figure that one out. So I don't need to elaborate on that. Obviously, this also applies to lack of protective gear, lack of inadequate office equipment. This is especially concerning when it comes to crime intelligence and crime investigation. And I've got first-hand experience or first-hand knowledge of this issue because, as I have mentioned on a previous live, we were the victims of a burglary in January, and the forensics unit came to take fingerprints, and I had a long and lengthy discussion with the forensics officer that day that was busy taking fingerprints at my house, and he explained to me in detail how they were struggling with outdated equipment and gear that they were still using to try and solve crimes, capture criminals, take fingerprints. They are using equipment, according to him, that's been outdated 20 years ago. They're still using that equipment because, according to him, there was a stuff up with procurement. They ordered a whole bunch of this stuff, and they are now being forced to finish all of it before they will order new equipment or updated equipment. Yeah, shocking. So the police are under-equipped. They are understaffed. There's equipment and technology available now that can make their work so much easier, so much more effective. Daar's soveel tegnologie. Daar's al soveel verwikkelinge en veranderinge gewees in terme van polisieering en die bekamping en voorkoming van misdaad. Maar ons arme polisie sit nog steeds met hulle hande in hulle hare, met outdated equipment, en party het is nie eers toegerus nie. Soos ek sê, daar's 'n 20% persentasie voertuie wat nie eers werk nie. Nou praat ons van die voertuie wat hulle het. Ons praat nie eens van die voertuie wat hulle nie het nie. So die polisie sukkel. Kyk, ons het nou al gepraat in die verlede, daar is polisiemanne en daar is polisie wat korrup is. There is corruption amongst the police and amongst SAPS, but not all of them are corrupt. There are police officers out there that are putting their lives on the line and doing a great job with very, very limited resources and support. And they're still doing the best they can. But they're struggling because of all the reasons I just mentioned. Obviously, there's infrastructure issues, there's training issues and staffing issues. There's a whole list. There's a whole list that I can go through now and bore you with. But I'm sure you all understand and realize and know that the police are under-equipped, and that the police are not receiving the funding they need to upgrade whatever they have, or to do their work to the best of their abilities. So this then obviously also then poses the question. So dit laat my dan nou wonder. As ons nou in 'n land sit, ons sit nou met 'n land wat so pas gelys is as die 5de gevaarlikste land in die wêreld. Gevaarlik. We're talking about violent crimes here. We're not talking about petty crimes. There are syndicates in South Africa, operating in South Africa, crime syndicates. Terrorists are now coming into South Africa. Drug cartels are coming into South Africa. South Africa is a hotspot of criminal activity currently in the world. This is probably one of the 5 biggest cancers in South Africa that is destroying this country. The others obviously being corruption, state theft, state corruption, poverty, our non-existent economy, our ever collapsing infrastructure. But I will put crime on top of that list as the biggest contributing factor to what's happening in South Africa and South Africa's degradation. Because crime covers corruption as well. Corruption falls under crime. So you would think that a country that is, that's experiencing this high levels of crime would come up with a solution, or at least throw some money at the problem. Because this should be priority, number 1. This should be prime priority for this government, is to ensure that that this country's people can live without fear, that we are safe, that we are guarded and protected, that our children are protected. This should be paramount. This should be this country's prime objective. Dit behoort hierdie land se top prioriteit te wees, is om seker te maak ons is almal veilig en om iets te doen aan hierdie misdaad. But no, you spend millions, billions on changing street names. Daar's op die oomblik is daar in City of Joburg Council is daar voorstelle gemaak om nog straatname in Johannesburg te vernoem, te rename, wat's die woord. There are proposals currently being made in City of Johannesburg to change more street names in Johannesburg. How much is that going to cost? Don't you think that money would be well spent if that money was used to support SAPS? Once again, the question is, where does government's priorities lie? Is it really with the people? Is it really with the public? Do they really care about us? Anyways, we're going to get to these regulations shortly. They are now obviously going to affect the private security industry. I just quickly wanted to discuss SAPS with you so that you understand the pressure that SAPS is under in South Africa, and why there is a need for security companies in South Africa to exist and to be fully operational. It is because of what is happening to SAPS. It's because SAPS is struggling. It's not because they don't have competent people. There are more than enough competent people working as police officers in SAPS, but they are underfunded, understaffed, under-equipped. But we just discussed that, so I'm not going to elaborate on that anymore. So what is the role of the security industry in South Africa? Once again, I listed a whole bunch of points that I wanted to discuss and go through, but I'm going to give you the one that stood out most to me, and that is the private security sector addresses gaps left by SAPS, which struggles with resource shortages, vehicle maintenance issues, and limited visible policing in residential areas. So julle kan sien die privaat sektor, die privaat sekuriteitsindustrie, wat 'n rol speel dit in Suid-Afrika. Dit is 'n absolute what's the word in Afrikaans, necessity. Kan jy nou net dink, daar's 580,000 geregistreerde sekuriteitswagte in South Africa. There are 580,000 registered security guards in South Africa. Imagine a South Africa without them. Imagine how the police would struggle without those people. I don't know when last did you have a look outside of your bedroom window. Who's the people who are patrolling our communities, our streets, our residential areas at night. It's the private security guys that are doing most of the patrolling. Because as you just heard, the police, most of these police, or the police in South Africa, as far as police vehicles are concerned, there's a big shortage and a big issue with police vehicles that don't work. So they are like this, like my notes, just like my notes say, they address gaps left by SAPS. And these people don't deal with petty crimes and petty criminals. South Africa's got has got another level, a completely different type of criminal that we have to contend with and deal with every single day. If you just watch the news every week, as jy net na die nuus kyk en jy kyk na wat in ons land besig is om wat is besig om in ons land te gebeur. 72 moorde 'n dag, verkrachtings, geweld teenoor vrouens en kinders, babietjies. Babies are being raped and killed in South Africa. So crime is completely out of control. Completely out of control, and we are very much dependent on the security, the private security industry in South Africa being allowed to do the work they do and being equipped the way they are to do the work they do. Because like I said, they're not dealing with petty criminals and Mickey Mouse criminals in South Africa. They are dealing with people that walk around and run around and commit crimes with fully automatic weapons. Fully automatic weapons. I'm talking about AK-47s here. I'm talking about R5s. I mean, I'm talking about military style weapons that these heists, transit robberies, etc. are being committed. That's the type of criminal that the police and the security guys in South Africa face on a daily basis. Now you want to come and take their weapons away. I don't want to jump the gun. I don't want to get ahead of myself. We will get to those regulations shortly. But you can understand, once again, this is once again something that makes you wonder. Dis nou weer een van daai kopkrappertjies. Jy weet, een van daai goeders wat jy nou weer wonder, maar hoekom wil die regering dit nou doen? Wat is hulle doel daarmee? Hoekom wil hulle dit nou? Daar moet tog 'n doel wees. And I have listened to some of these submissions made by some of these people that are in favor of these regulations and proposals. Zero sense. Nothing makes sense. Niks. Daar's niks wat sin maak nie. Because like I said, the safety and security of our citizens, our children, our senior citizens, our women is paramount. Paramount. So now government is proposing new regulations that is now going to pull the teeth of om met ons sekuriteitsmaatskappye se tande te trek. Why would you do that? Anyways, moving along, I can feel my temperature rising so as I go through this document. But okay, so let's get to the meat of the subject tonight. And these are the regulations that were published in the Government Gazette that was issued on the 28th of March 2025. So it's just a couple of days ago. If you want to go and look it up, it's Government Gazette number 52388. I've written a summary here that I'm going to quickly just go through with you. So the Private Security Industry Regulations Act, or CIRA, as it is more commonly known. So these proposals are amendments that are being proposed with regards to this act. So obviously they are proposing amendments to be made to the current act. So you would think that they would, obviously, if they're going to change legislation, it's going to be in favor of our security or in ons belang. Jy sal nou dink dat as die regering nou veranderings wil aanbring aan 'n bestaande wet, dat daai veranderings dat dit tot voordeel van ons gaan wees. Maar nou lees jy hierdie voorstelle, now you read these proposals and it's anything but. So let me just quickly go through the summary with you. So basically what they are saying is they want to stop, so these regulations are going to stop companies that are under investigation from issuing firearms. So in other words, if there is a charge laid against a security officer or whatever, then basically that whole security company then comes to an abrupt standstill or a shutdown, and they are not allowed to issue any firearms anymore until this matter is resolved. Now, I can tell you from experience and what I've seen, some of these matters can drag on for months, if not years, because we're talking about legal processes here. These things don't get resolved in 24 hours or 48 hours or a week. And you can understand also now that, there will be a lot of malicious. Imagine if people start making malicious accusations towards some of these security officers. That then obviously is registered as an official complaint. And as long as there are complaints as long as these complaints are under investigation, these security companies are basically going to be restricted from issuing firearms, which means they're not going to be able to do their work. So you can just imagine the repercussions of that proposal. This is ridiculous. The one that I'm going to read to you now is absolutely ridiculous. It bans the carrying of firearms in public unless strict rules are followed, making normal patrols by armed response officers nearly impossible. So places like malls, taxi ranks, stadiums, parks, restaurants, hospitals, churches, schools, and homes may lose security cover. So they're not going to be allowed to use their firearms in these public places or public spaces. That is absolutely ridiculous. Where do you think people get targeted? If you think like a criminal just for a second, you're gonna common sense, once again, common sense. Think like a criminal. These are the exact same places that criminals will target. Now you are saying that our security officers are not allowed to discharge or use their weapons in those spaces. Anyway, draak maller. It gets crazier. So the regulations or the proposals talk about a reasonable amount of ammo. This is one thing that I want to mention to you guys quickly, is the vagueness in which some of these bills are drafted, or even some of our acts. This is one thing about an act being vague. It's open for interpretation, and the person, the body, or whatever that implements a particular act or whatever will do it according to their understanding or interpretation of a particular law. So unless if this is very serious, and this is also a problem that we are facing now with the Land Appropriation Act, is the vagueness in which that bill has been drafted. Because, like I said, it's open for interpretation, and you all know who the interpreters are in most of these cases. So you know what? Dis soos mense partykeer die Bybel interpreteer. Dis soos mense wat versies uit die Bybel uitvat wat hulle pas. Hulle lees nie die Bybel in konteks nie. Hulle vat nie die versies wat pas by hulle agenda of narratief of wat ook al. It's the same things, the same way that some of these laws are being implemented. They are interpreted to suit the narratives of those that are interpreting them. That's a problem. This is why we need to voice our opinions and why we need to make our written submissions. Semi-auto rifle restrictions limit semi-automatic rifle use. In other words, we're talking about high-risk units here. People that are safeguarding mines, anti-hijack teams, etc. are now going to be prohibited from using semi-automatic rifles. So what do you want to use? What do you want to equip them with? So if you have to go into a gun battle now with a bunch of people that are carrying AK-47s, what are you going to issue them with? Slingshots. Gaan jy vir hulle ketties gee? Well, sorry, ketties, I'm getting to that point as well. That's also now being restricted as well. Because they're also now classifying handcuffs as a weapon. So they're going to restrict the use of handcuffs as well. How do you expect these people to do their jobs? How do you expect these people to fight the types of criminals that are running rampant in South Africa if you're going to not allow them to use semi-automatic weapons? Anyway, weer eens common sense. And then obviously this is an interesting one. Tracking devices on weapons. Oh my goodness, they can't even they're struggling to even issue firearms as it is. I mean, weet mense kom praat hier van tegnologie, maar dan ry ons op 'n pad vol potholes. They can't even fix potholes, but they are coming up with suggestions here, requiring all kinds of high-level technology. ons almal weet dit gaan nie werk nie. Ons almal weet dit gaan nie werk nie, ons almal weet dit gaan nie gebeur nie. Ja, anyway. And soos ek gesê het, they also now restricting the use, or they are introducing certain conditions under which tasers can be used, pepper spray, handcuffs, all of that. So, eintlik net 'n klomp kak. Sorry, vir die van julle wat nou so pas julle remotes ingesluk het, kak kom van cactus af. Daar het ek ook nou my woordjie ingekry. So, nee, dit is 'n klomp nonsens hierdie. Dis 'n klomp nonsens, and unless we get involved, unless we participate in this decision-making process, this, like the Bella Bill and other bills that have come before it, is going to be passed into law. And then we're going to sit on our couches and we're going to complain and we're going to moan and we're going to stand around the braai and talk about how moertoe die land is, instead of using the opportunity that we have right now to make a difference. So I urge you to please take cognizance of these regulations that were published on the 28th of March. The cut-off date is, and Marlezay, if any of my head office colleagues are here, please correct me if I'm wrong, but let me just quickly check. I think I made a note. The cut-off date is I think it's the 24th of April is the cut-off date. So we have until then to comment on this, to give our opinions, to send in our written submissions. If you need any information, if you don't know where to send it, contact us. We will send you, we will post the link on our website. We will post the link on our Facebook page so that you know where to send your submissions. But you need to act and you need to participate. You need to be we all need to be part of the solution. We all need to be part of governance in South Africa, because that is what the Constitution requires. The Constitution explicitly says that the citizens of this country must be part of the decision-making processes that take place. So ons konstitusie, ons land se konstitusie het duidelik gesê dat die burgers van hierdie land moet deelneem en betrek word met enige besluitnemingsprosesse deur die regering. So make use of that opportunity. Please remember that we put them there, unfortunately. They are there at our behest. Hulle is daar om ons te verteenwoordig. Ons het hulle gekies. Dit beteken nie hulle is gooitjies en wat daar op hulle trone sit en royal. No, they're not. The same way we put them in power is the same way we can remove them from power. They are there to serve us. They are there to represent us, and they are there to make decisions that are in our best interest. And if they don't do that, we need to speak up. If they are not making decisions that are in the interest of the public, we need to make sure that our voices are heard and that they get the message loud and clear. I see somebody just published there that the cut-off date is 24 April. So, like I said, there's a lot of comments that's circulating on this issue, this particular issue on social media and on mainstream media. You just have to Google it. There's a lot of expert opinions that have already been published on this matter, on this subject. In particular, I would like you to please go and look at Martin Hood's video. I would like for you to please go and look at the videos where members of the Gun Owners Association of South Africa speak out, and other private security industries. Go look at those comments, listen to what they have to say, and then please get involved. Please get involved. There's a whole lot of other surprises waiting in the pipeline for us. But just make sure that you download your Government Gazette every Friday. Make sure that you read it. Make sure that you stay updated as to what is happening in South Africa, because it affects you. Mense, maak seker julle is op hoogte van wat aangaan in hierdie land. Moenie wag om die informasie te kry by die politikuste en op die 8 uur nuus. Nee, wees proaktief. Lees die Government Gazette, lees die Staatskoerant. Maak seker julle weet wat hierdie regering vir ons beplan, sodat ons kan deelneem, sodat ons kan ons sê en ons opinies kan lig, en seker maak hulle weet. Hulle kan nie die wol oor ons oor trek nie. So that they know they can't pull the wool over our eyes. That's very important. Dit is al wat ek wou sê. That's it from my part from my side for tonight. I hope that you found this informative. I hope that you enjoyed the discussion. It's important to, like I said, knowledge is power. Knowledge, it's very important that you guys educate yourselves on what's happening in South Africa. Otherwise, people are going to keep on, like I said, taking you for a ride. Mense gaan aanhou om ons vir 'n ride te vat, as ons nie seker maak ons weet wat aangaan en hoe dinge werk in hierdie land nie. So thank you for listening, enjoy your evening, and I will speak to you guys soon. Ons praat gou weer, hou ons Facebookblad dop. Ek gaan kyk of ek hierdie gesprek van vanaand kan transcribe. Ek weet nie wat se Afrikaans of die Afrikaanse woord daarvoor nie, so I'm going to try and transcribe tonight's discussion and then publish it on our Facebook page so that you guys have a written document if you need any reminder of what was discussed tonight, so that you guys can pass it on and share it with your friends and your family. And yeah, let's make sure that this government of ours start realizing that we are awake, that we are not asleep, and that they are not going to catch us off guard anymore. Maak seker dat hierdie regering weet ons is op en wakker en dat hulle ons nie meer gaan, vang met 'n slaapriem nie. Thanks everyone, enjoy your evening and I'll speak to you soon, and thanks for joining tonight's live discussion, and ons praat weer. Thank you very much, bye bye.